Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Just the Discs. My name's Brian. We talk about Blu-rays here. And today I am talking about another round of releases from the fine folks at Imprint Films, the Australian label division of Via Vision Entertainment. These are all, of course, region-free, and you can import them from the Via Vision site itself, searching Imprint Films, and you can also get them from Amazon. You can get them from Import CDs, Diabolic DVD. I think Orbit DVD has some as well. So they are not that hard to get a hold of. But this is an interesting and varied round, as is often the case with each group of titles we get from Imprint. So let's kick it off with Jacob's Ladder from 1990, directed by Adrian Lyne. One of Adrian Lyne's best films in my mind, written by Bruce Joel Rubin, and starring, of course, Mr. Tim Robbins, among others. Elizabeth Pena, Danny Aiello, Pruitt Taylor Vince, Eric LaSalle, Ving Rhames. It's quite a cast, and it is the story of a Vietnam soldier who has this horrible, nightmarish, dream-like thing happening to him. Like, it opens in Vietnam and then, moves forward to his life post-Vietnam, and he's having these horrible nightmares, like waking nightmares. And it is truly one of the most, I think, still disturbing horror films of this period from my mind. So he's plagued by hallucinations and flashbacks, and people around him are morphing and twisting into disturbing images, and his girlfriend and his ex-wife try to help him, but it's just not really gonna work, I had totally forgotten about Macaulay Culkin as his kid in this movie. And interestingly, Macaulay Culkin, does Home Alone in 1990. This comes out late 1990, but seeing him in the movie, he looks so much younger than he does in Home Alone. And I don't think he's necessarily actually that much younger. He just looks really young. But that makes the movie that much more effective and disturbing for some reason to have him in it. I don't know, because I associate him with other movies, happier movies. But it's a really great performance from Tim Robbins, and yeah, some of the practical effects are pretty nuts. I gotta say, it is alarming what Adrian Lyne is able to pull off with just practical effects only. So I went through the features, and there's a lot of stuff here. Now, there was a Blu-ray of this released some time ago, and it is from Studio Canal and Lionsgate. And this transfer, it says on the back, is presentation by Studio Canal. So I must assume that these are the same transfers. The only difference I can tell you is that there's a different Studio Canal logo on this one than this. I can't say for sure if the transfer is different. I ran them close together, and they didn't look distinctly different. I mean, the movie looks good, but it's not like brand new in terms of the transfer or anything. Anyway, back to the special effects before I forget. There is a few things that Lyne does in the movie. There's a great effect where Tim Robbins shakes his head, and it was achieved by having the actors shake their head sort of wildly at varied frame rates, so it gives this really alarming and disturbing image. And that's something I'll never forget. That's always gonna, I can picture it in my head right now. And they were also, both the writer Bruce Joel Rubin and Adrian Lyne were influenced by H.R. Giger, photographs of Diane Arbus, and Joel Peter Witkin. If you haven't seen those photographs, you will definitely see the influence on Jacob's Ladder. I'm familiar with Joel Peter Witkin's work, and it's very interesting stuff. Very, again, sometimes disturbing stuff. They also, I think, at least line drew influence from the Brothers Quay and their 1986 stop motion film Street of Crocodiles, which I thought is an interesting point of reference, and you can kind of see that in there too. Anyway, so back to the features. Included on this is the Adrian Lyne commentary and the making of featurette, which is known as Building Jacob's Ladder, which is about 27 minutes long, which is cool because they talk to Bruce Joel Rubin, Adrian Lyne, Tim Robbins, Elizabeth Pena. So that's all here. You know, you get that commentary, and then there's of course some deleted scenes with commentary that were included here, but you also have a lot of new stuff on this disc. So you have a new commentary with film historian Mike White from the Projection Booth podcast. You have, then you have some archival interviews with Adrian Lyne, Tim Robbins, Elizabeth Pena, about 7 minutes each or so. I don't remember if those were included here or not. I don't think so, actually. So old but new. And then Prepare the Way, an interview with screenwriter Bruce Joel Rubin, and that is 20 minutes. Where's the Ladder? The Locations of Jacob's Ladder, which features Michael Gingold, formerly of Fangoria, giving a tour of the locations of the film. It's about 17 and a half minutes. Hidden in Plain Sight, The Spirituality in Jacob's Ladder, which is a really neat video essay by Alexandra Heller Nicholas, about 22 minutes. And then there's also Something's Wrong with My Head, Vietnam War Trauma in Jacob's Ladder, video essay by Josh Nelson, which is about 30 minutes. The spirituality, I mean, these are in the titles. It's telling you what they're looking at a little bit more. But obviously, spirituality in Jacob's Ladder, focusing on that aspect of this film, whereas Vietnam trauma, war trauma, and Jacob's Ladder is focusing on the film as a cinematic representation of Vietnam, which Josh Nelson argues it's not often sort of attributed to that. It's not given, it's seen more through the lens of being a horror movie than a Vietnam movie, and I do think it's a really interesting essay. So they do add some really nice extras to this release of Jacob's Ladder. So definitely one that for fans, you'll want to be picking that one up, I think. Moving on, we have several here that I have not seen, but I have had interest in for quite some time. The next one is from 2003, and it is I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. This is Mike Hodges, sort of following up his success with Croupier, because he's reuniting himself with Clive Owen. And this one is Owen plays a former London crime boss who's left his, life of crime to live as a recluse in the forest, and he's sort of haunted by all the people he has murdered over time, and he doesn't really want to go back. But then his brother commits suicide following a sexual assault at the hands of a volatile car dealer, and Will returns to London to discover his brother's death and administer justice to those responsible. So there's a little bit of maybe like a returning to Get Carter kind of thing. Like Mike Hodges, of course, also did Get Carter. This film also has a pretty cool supporting cast. Jonathan Rhys Meyers, Charlotte Rampling, Malcolm McDowell. That's worth the price of admission alone as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, this was one I never got a chance to check out, and so I've kind of always wanted to see it. And this Blu-ray is pretty nice because it includes an audio commentary with director Mike Hodges and writer Trevor Preston, as well as Mike Hodges and I'll Sleep When I'm Dead documentary that was done for the BBC. It's about a half an hour, 25 minutes or so, which I'm excited to dig into once I get to check this movie out. But yeah, this is definitely one that's been on my list since it came out, really, because I was really a big fan of Croupier. I want to say Croupier was like my favorite film of the year it came out. And so when this came out, I was like, oh, this is his follow-up. This is the one I should check out, and I never got to. So very excited about I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Then we have Georgia. This is a film from 1995 directed by Ulu Grossbard. Ulu Grossbard is a director I have a fondness for, mostly because of his film Straight Time, which he did with Dustin Hoffman in 1978, based on Eddie Bunker's novel No Beast So Fierce. One of the great ex-con getting out of prison, trying to assimilate into normal life again and failing kind of movies. Really, really great stuff. So I think Grossbard's more of a theater-based director that did some films. I could be wrong, but this one is intriguing because it kind of ties into another release that we got a while back from Fun City Editions as part of their TV movie box set, Primetime Panic. There's a movie called Freedom in there, and it also stars Mayor Winningham, who's in this movie, and it's also written by Barbara Turner, who is Jennifer Jason Leigh's mom, and Jennifer Jason Leigh, of course, stars in this film too. But both Freedom and this film have some roots in, I want to say, autobiography, something to do with one of her older daughters. Freedom especially is very much a biographical or autobiographical in terms of the character in it is based on a lot on Jennifer Jason Leigh's older sister, Carrie Morrow. And I'm not sure exactly how this ties in, but I know it's a similar kind of source material. It's drawing from similar stuff. But the idea is that Sadie, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, looks up to her older sister, Georgia, who is a successful sort of country folk singer and who's happily married with children, but can't break out of the bar band circuit and hit the big time she desperately covets. It's in part due to her attraction to drugs and booze and also her own unwise choice in men. Finally, though, Sadie's Achilles heel is rough, unlovely voice, very different than her sister's crowd-pleasing singing. So the Sadie character is more a punk band girl, and she looks up to her sister. And this is a tough movie. I remember seeing this when it came out on VHS and having a lot of problems with the Jennifer Jason Leigh character in this, just being a very tough character to sympathize with. But I'm excited in a lot of ways to come back to this because it's been so long since I've seen it. And because now I've seen Freedom and I have sort of a larger context for the story, I just want to watch it again. I'm a big Mayor Winningham fan, and I like this sort of character drama. So anyway, this one has a high-definition presentation from a 2K scan of the original negative, audio commentary with film historians Brian Reisman and Max Every. Those guys are very solid. I very much enjoy their tracks. They've done a few for Imprint. Let's see here. This has the flip side of the static interview with actor John Doe, who's part of this movie, archival interviews with actresses Jennifer Jason Leigh, Mayor Winningham, and John Doe, and writer Barbara Turner. I should mention the cast also includes Ted Levine from Silence of the Lambs, Max Perlich, John C. Reilly, and others that you'll recognize for sure. So it's got a really nice cast on top of everything else. So that's Georgia from 1995. Then we have Return to Paradise from 1998. Now this is another one that I have not yet seen, but have always heard interesting things about, and have wanted to check out, especially since the passing of Anne Heche, who stars along with Vince Vaughn and Joaquin Phoenix in this film. There's also Jada Pinkett Smith, Vera Farmiga, definitely some other faces that I recognize in the cast. And I've also heard somebody recently, and maybe on a podcast, was saying this is one of Vince Vaughn's best performances. Anyway, the movie is kind of about a group of three friends who were vacationing in Malaysia. Two of them eventually leave to pursue careers in New York, but one of them stays behind to work with orangutans. And 2 years later, the two that were in New York those are, of course, Vince Vaughn and Anne Heche learned that because of their past actions, the Joaquin Phoenix character has now been arrested for drug possession, and he's facing the death sentence. So the friends are left with a difficult decision: return to Malaysia and split Lewis's sentence, or let him die. So pretty heavy, dramatic story. I can't remember if this is based on fact or anything like that, but definitely one that intrigues me, and one that, again, I remember came out during my video store years, and I just never got a chance to check it out. So this one has a 1080p high-definition presentation from a 4K scan of the original negative, force majeure directing, Return to Paradise, interview with director Joseph Rubin, Godless Place, scoring Return to Paradise, interview with composer Mark Mancina, and archival interviews with Vince Vaughn, Anne Heche, and Joaquin Phoenix. So this is cool, and I don't know if this is a debut on Blu-ray or not. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like it might be. So that's Return to Paradise. We have a couple more here. House of the Spirits from 1993. This has got a pretty remarkable cast, this one, including Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, Jeremy Irons, Winona Ryder, Antonio Banderas, Armin Mueller-Stahl, Vanessa Redgrave, Vincent Gallo. It just goes on and on. And this one is the story of a rancher, his clairvoyant wife, and their family as they face turbulent years in South Africa. And another one that I just have never gotten around to seeing, but definitely remember it getting a VHS release in the years I was at the video stores. New high definition, so I don't know if it's new, but high definition presentation by Paramount. 2 cuts of the film, the U.S. theatrical and extended 132-minute European version with an alternative presentation of the film's opening. Audio commentary by film historian Scott Harrison, and beginning with Billy, interview with assistant director Guy Travers. So that is a Miramax film from 1993 that I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talking about anymore, despite that remarkable cast. Okay, then we have, lastly, Little Buddha, and this one is from 1993, starring Mr. Keanu Reeves, Bridget Fonda, Chris Isaac, and is a story of, after the death of Lama Dorje, Tibetan Buddhist monks find 3 children, 1 American and 2 Nepalese, who may be the rebirth of their great teacher. So it's sort of a story of an American kid who might be the new Buddha or something, I guess. This is one I never got to see either, and I'm sure that there should be hopefully renewed interest in anything Keanu Reeves right now, based on his current run of amazing and enjoyable, entertaining John Wick films and everything else he's been up to in the last decade or so. But this is one I don't feel like I hear people talking about very much, and I'm sure it's one that many folks might be interested in checking out. In a big American city, a boy and his family discover a story about a prince in a land of miracles, but the miracle becomes real when the Tibetan monks appear searching for their leader's reincarnation, who they believe has been reborn in the boy. 1080p high-definition presentation from a 4K scan of the original negative. Audio commentary by filmmaker and film historian Jim Hemphill, who I'm a big fan of, and I've always enjoyed Jim's commentaries on the Imprint discs I've gotten my hands on. I really loved his track for Nobody's Fool. That was a great one. Making of Little Buddha featurette. Interview with producer Jeremy Thomas. Interview with director Bernardo Bertolucci. Oh, I buried the lead there. Bertolucci directed this. A Great Adventure. Interview with supervising art director Andrew Sanders. Reincarnation of Sound. Interview with supervising sound editor Eddie Joseph. Buddhist Lines, interview with dialogue coach Constantine Gregory. So a bunch of featurettes, new stuff they've added for this Blu-ray release of 1993's Little Buddha. And that will do it for this episode. Thank you for watching. As I said, check out Imprint Films at their website and on their social medias, where they're always announcing new stuff every month. So definitely keep your eyes and ears peeled for anything new that they are announcing, because it's often interesting stuff. So thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.